Once you have created an assignment and students have turned it in, it's time to grade your assignment. So let's look at an example. This is an example of a question. So if I click on this question, I can see at a glance that 8 students have turned it in, 8 students have been assigned it but have not turned it in. So as I click on it, it lists the students on the left-hand side. On the top are the students that have turned it in, on the bottom are the students that have not turned it in. With a question, you see the answers right here. You're not able to go further into it. I can see all of them. It's very nice for grading quickly. If I click on this student and I was to give her full credit, at the bottom, I'm able to add a private comment. That's optional. You don't have to do that. And if I hit post, it will credit that student right here, and you can see that the comment's left underneath of it. Now you notice that it checked it off as I did that. That means that I could now hit return and it will return that back to this student. If I didn't want to return it yet, I would simply not hit the return button. Let's look at, and that's for a question, so let's look at something for an assignment. So let's go under, I'll do this one right here. Adobe Illustrator Lesson 3, Part 3. So I have 13 students that have turned it in and 3 that have been assigned that have not turned it in. So I'm going to click on here. Now, assignments are done a little bit differently. So you can still see the same setup, those who've turned it on the left-hand side, and at the bottom, those that have not, and it says how many points it's out of. If I wanted to change the points, that point value is right up here. And if I want to look at these individually, all I would do is click on the first name. It would bring it up, and I would be able to look at this student's answers. Now this was done in Google Docs. She did not put her name on it, but she didn't need to. It attaches it automatically to the assignment when she turns it in. And here I can come over here and enter a grade for the student here. I can add a private comment in this spot, and I can click post. Now, if you click down here, this is called a comment bank. So one of the ones that I commonly use is -2 points for not answering in a full sentence. So that's in my comment bank. If I wanted to make other comments such as great job or please complete your assignment fully or whatever you would like to say, you could add those comments here so that when you're grading, you could very quickly just add in a comment bank and hit post. Again, you can return it individually to the student from here, or if you click the arrow, what I often will do is give them a grade such as, let's just say 20 points, and it says that it's not returned. I can say good job, and I'll hit post so that my comment posts. And then what I would do is come up here and hit my arrow. Now it's not been returned to the student, but I'll show you what it looks like on the other screen in just a minute. So now I go to the next student, I can see her answers. I can go ahead and grade her quickly, add a comment if I want to, and move on. Now, if I close this out and I go back, you can see that what I first did is now over here. So here's for my first student, says good job, it's full credit. If I went through clicking the arrow to grade each of those students, they would all be done that way, and I could simply click return and return them all at the same time to each of those students. Going back to the main section, you can always leave a comment for a student, and that's optional. They can comment back to you if they have a question, and then you could then comment back to them. So you'll see that as you go along. Let's look at an example of comments. Okay, so this is an example of a warm-up question, and this is a fake class that I made just for training purposes. And as we look at it, you can see it says 2 class comments. So this student had commented, I'm excited to read this play, and I had written back, I'm glad you are excited. So if I wanted to add an additional comment, I could click that here. Now, this says add class comment. Remember that you can change, if you go up to the gear right here, you can change the options to have students post or comment only, or only teachers can post or comment. When you're doing grading, all students can send you a comment and it's private. However, this right here is referring to class comments. So as you're setting up your documents and you want to create a new assignment, let's say you created a question, remember that you can click here for students to reply to each other or to keep it so that they just answer the question and no one can see anyone else's questions. So that is the option that you need to pay attention to as you're assigning it. But this is what that looks like, is that they can write to you and you can write them back. And they can write to all the students. So this is the class comment. So I only have one student in this example, so that's the only student that's answered, and then I wrote that student back. Along with viewing and entering grades is the grade section. inside Google Classroom. And if you click on that, what it will do is give you an overview of everybody's grades. So the student names are on the left-hand side, and then every single assignment. You can see who's missing it, how many points it was out of, if they've completed it, and it gives you a quick glance at a time. You can also, if you click on each student's name, be able to see a summary of their grades. Now again, in our county, we still use X2, so you would still need to enter these grades into X2, but when you grade on Google Classroom, it gives the students instant feedback on that grade, and if you don't grade it, it looks like it's ungraded on the website, so sometimes it can add confusion. So I would always suggest grading on Google Classroom as well as turning around and entering it into X2 for the Family Portal.